I was a raging alcoholic for 15 years. I was homeless for many years combined in my life. I grew up broke. Couldn't figure out my hair situation for years until I was like a late teenager. So I got bullied a lot for that and other reasons. I'm really, really gay. Yeah, came out to most people when I was 16, was outed by people when I was 16, so came out. These are a few things people know about me online. They just already know. You may not know because you may just be hearing this for the first time, even though you follow me, or you may just have stumbled upon me here on YouTube because YouTube's algorithm is so powerful and accurate. Um, but those are some things people know about me. I've said them out loud. Other things you may or may not know are that I've gone on to raise $30 million dollars for a venture capital fund I founded. I've invested in more than 200 companies. I was on the cover of Fast Company a few years ago. I was the first black woman non-celebrity. Before then was Oprah, Serena Williams, and Beyonce, and they were all celebrities, obviously. Um, I've spoken in front of crowds as large as 20,000, and for a few years, I was one of the highest paid speakers. I guess I still am, but I don't do as much speaking. But as highest paid speakers in tech and in startups. And I've helped thousands and thousands of entrepreneurs. I've made millions of dollars for myself and for other people. And I've done all of this, while mostly in a hoodie, just like this, mostly with kind of normal, non-flashy hair, mostly with no makeup. Sometimes I'll throw the makeup on when I'm trying to stunt on them. But I've done this as myself. I've done all of these things, accomplished a lot, impacted a lot of people as myself. Being real, being true to who I am, and being authentic in public. And a lot of times people will meet me in person and they'll say, "You're just like you are on video. You're just like you are, you don't have this thing about you where you think you're better than other people because you have earned and raised money." And that's very true. I don't think I'm better than anybody else. I think I'm as great as everyone else is great. But the reason they have that experience with me is because I am being authentic and real on video. I am not switching lanes and switching modes dependent on who I'm talking to. Now, I may speak a little bit differently depending on my audience. I think we all do a little bit of that. We call it code switching. But to be honest with you, I don't even do that well. Like I'm known for being pretty straightforward, blunt, direct. My good friends say I'm direct. The haters will say that I'm rude, but it's probably both. Not trying to be rude, but I am very direct in how I talk. Since I was 20 and I'm 44 now, since I was 20, I have wondered if I was on the spectrum at all. I don't know still. Um, but I do have things about myself that I know, and you have things about yourself that you know are true. And I say be yourself so the people looking for you can find you. The authenticity of it all. I think in my first book, it's about damn time. This is the paperback version, which is really easy to carry around. This is the hardback version, two different covers. I talk about authentically being authentically you. This was written 6 or so years ago. It came out about 5.5 years ago. But I talk about that in this book. There's a whole section, not even a chapter. Part four is authenticity, unapologetic authenticity. Don't deny the world your voice. Rolling with the punches and ditch the costume. I would highly recommend grabbing this book or getting the audio version that I read and going through that section specifically because what is really cool about being myself and about being yourself is that I don't have, first of all, I don't have to guess and like try to remember lies. Like that's fun. The second part is I get to go to sleep every night and I'm like, I was real today. For better or for worse, for all the ups and downs, I was real. Um, by the way, I'm no longer an alcoholic. Have been sober for 8 years now. I'm so happy about that. But it's something about that that I like too, that I liken to this, which is I always say, even if I have like the worst day ever, and I mean worst day ever, and those still happen, um, when I go to bed, I say, well, at least I'm sober. At least I'm not going to have a hangover. At least I did everything as myself rather than this thing hanging over my shoulder. It's like that. Like I can rest assured that at least as the song says, I did it my way. At least it was real. And for you, let me tell you something. The strength and the power and getting where you want to get, but as you is amazing. In other words, yeah, you can step on people. You can play a game. You can act a certain way because you want certain people to like you. You can do all of that, trying to succeed, and you may even succeed at it. You see a lot of bad actors go far, but then you have to live with yourself there. You have to live with what you've done. You have to live with what you've said to people, how you've treated people. And that may not sit well with you at the end of the day. Because once you get to it, it's like, oh, that was what it was. Okay. I know so many people who are successful who say when they got to their dream, when they reached the goal, it wasn't like they thought it was going to be. It didn't fulfill them in a way they thought it would. And I think it's because they played a game rather than like they play, I talk about making money being play because it is to people. What I mean, like playing a game with your life, playing a game with who you are. They're pretending. They were in a costume. I think that's kind of, my take on it. I think it can be fulfilling. I've been fulfilled when it is like 100% authenticity at the end of the day. It's also strategically important. I mean, I know it's a little bit, conflict when I say strategically authentic, but it is strategic in that there are more than what, 7 billion, there's like 8 billion people or something on the earth. There's all these different people and everybody's taken. Like they say, be yourself because everybody else is taken. I've heard that said before. Everybody like has seen it all. They've seen it all. So if you are pretending to be somebody in business and in life, you're going to be copying somebody, and people have already seen that. But if you go in with your fingerprint, your DNA on the situation, the only person in the world who is you is you. Like if you go in as you have more ability to stand out. And strategically, that is important because when you're in this sea of people and sea of offers and sea of things for sale, sea of products, how else are you supposed to stand out? Now you can use systems and success leaves clues. So you can watch what people do and kind of emulate some of it, but don't put a mask on while you're doing it. Unless it's a mask to protect your health. Do that. Ding ding. Don't put a costume on. Someone out there, the reason I say, and I said, the first said it in this book, and then it became this big phrase, you know. But the reason I say that, be yourself so the people looking for you can find you. I say that in this book is because like let's take what I talked about earlier about how like I used to be homeless and then wear these hoodies and I got into venture capital as one does, right? Even that in itself is like it's a different kind of story, right? You don't hear that every day. But I remember being in these rooms, like I'd be in Silicon Valley a lot back in the day when Silicon Valley was the place for this tech innovation. I would be in rooms in Silicon Valley, in New York, etc. I'd be in these rooms and everybody would be, like most of the women would be wearing a skirt or a dress. Most of the women would be wearing some type of heels. Most of the women would be, if there were women in there to begin with, first of all, and that's great. And I feel happy for them that they got to express themselves, but that's not me. I'm the kid who is like hating, dreading wearing a dress. That's the last thing I want to do. So certainly as an adult, I haven't been in it. When's the last time I was in a dress? I'm 44. Probably, I don't even know. A teenager? I have no idea when the last time I was in a dress. Maybe I did put on like, a Halloween costume or something. But I didn't want to go into these rooms like that. I wanted to go into these rooms and not even the dress up part, but the like wearing clothes that don't cost a lot of money part. Because I didn't have a lot of money. And I was comfortable in these clothes. I used to get holes in my shoes because I couldn't afford to buy new shoes. So I definitely got new shoes and I will wear a purple shoe if you've seen me in person, or on video, all of my shoes are a purple hue. So it's really important to me that I have these nice, beautiful purple shoes. But I still rock mostly hoodies, t-shirts. Sometimes I'll do a button-up kind of flannel, you know, because they're comfortable, they're super soft. I like the way I look in them. That's what we're gonna do. All of my socks are from Amazon Basics. I have a ton of t-shirts that are Amazon Basic t-shirts. It's just not something I care to spend a lot of time and money on. But maybe I will. Maybe I'll have 2 years where I'll just wear crazy stuff because I want to. But what the thing I wasn't going to do was conform to some sort of ideal something to make other people comfortable. And I remember I was at a Forbes event in New York a few years ago, speaking. And this event was like super like it's like intimate. It was being filmed. It was like C-suite people like CEOs, COOs, etc., VPs of things, very Fortune 500 company kind of vibe. And I remember going out and I wore what I wore, like jeans and a hoodie. Not trying to do something make a scene or like make a point or anything. I was just wearing what I wanted to wear that day. I was being paid. Was I being paid? Probably wasn't being paid because it was for you know, a journalist. But I was being taken care of. I was probably put up in a hotel. I was probably flown out. And I spoke and I said what I had to say. And I had, the receipts that I was just talking about on stage and how I went from this to that and how I had invested in, let's call it 30 or 50 companies by then. Now, today it's 200 plus, but maybe it was 30 or 50 back then. And, I did my thing. And as I do, people were impressed. And I remember this black woman came up to me who was like high, high, high up in her company. So she was probably making 300 or 400,000 a year. She probably had like, 100 plus people who reported to her. And she came up to me and she was in heels, she was in a dress, she had been speaking. And she said, I just want to thank you for being you. I want to thank you for coming out here in a hoodie because I wish I could do that. And she wasn't saying it like, oh, I wish I could. It must be nice. She was saying like, I wish I could actually express myself the way I really want to, but I could never. She didn't feel like she could. She didn't feel like she felt like she had to conform in order to do her thing. And I told myself, I'll never be in a position where I'm in a job or working with a client or speaking somewhere where I can't be myself. If there's a dress code, this is not all about clothing, by the way, but if there's a dress code, I'm going to adhere to the dress code. I understand that. But when it's just a matter of like, you know, I gotta try to be cool, or I gotta be cooler than I am. I don't want to be cooler than I am. I'm pretty cool. I'm all right here. Like if it's 1 to 10 and I'm a 7, cool. I like that. I say wherever I am is the party. I have no FOMO, and all of that is part of the authenticity. I remember just one more thing about clothing. I was in New York again, a different time. It was early in the process of me raising that $30 million venture fund. And I met with someone, I'm not going to say who it was, but they were representing a very famous person. Okay. And it was early in this process. So this was a huge deal to me. I've since, met them multiple times, and it's not as much of a big deal, but it was very cool at the time. So I went out to New York strictly to have this meeting. That celebrity person wasn't going to be there. Okay. But this person who made decisions for them and who handled their money and all of that, they were going to be there. So I went and I sat and I flew from LA to New York. That's a 6 hour trip or flight. I got into a hotel. I paid for all of that because I'm thinking they're going to maybe want to invest in what I'm doing. So I get there, I go up to their high rise, I sit in their lobby, and somebody offers me some water, and it's like out of like a weird tap. It's out of something weird. And I'm like, this is strange. It was a strange way that they did it, whatever. But I was already clocking like, that's not how I would have done it. But I'm not going to say that. That's not how I would have done it. So I'm wearing like probably a hoodie. It's either a hoodie or a t-shirt. It's definitely jeans, but it's clean. It's fitted. It is what it is. It got me through TSA, so it couldn't have been that terrible. And I go and I sit down in their very fancy high-rise office, one of the offices in this floor that they have. And it's not a lot of people there. And this was, I have to say, this was a black woman. And I'm gonna be real every time, right? I'm gonna tell you, it's a black woman. We sit down. Oh, I know what I was wearing. I was wearing something blue. We sit down, and she says, and I'm thinking this person may want to invest in us and lend their boss's name to what we're doing. So it's like a big deal. And the first thing she says to me, without saying anything else about all that I had just accomplished, was, "Girl, we're going to have to get you out of wearing blue. I saw that picture you used. You can't wear blue." As meaning, it's not flattering to you. And also meaning it was somehow important. And I was like, what? So she shows me a picture. And at the time, the picture I had, I wore blue in the picture. The one little picture I had, because I didn't have a lot of, you know, headshots. And I just thought, what? And then I thought, well, she's just trying to be nice and she's trying to like help me out. And she was dressed to kill, she had her thing going. So she was just whatever. What I know now and what I knew shortly after was that she was uncomfortable by me. She was uncomfortable, so she needed me to change. And that is just not my problem. But at the time I was like, let me still give it a try here. So we have the meeting. It's about 20, 30 minutes. Nothing comes from it. Nothing is said in it that is groundbreaking. There is zero follow through. It is just a very bland meeting and a very bland trip. And what I want you to take away, because this is the most important part. In After the meeting itself, before I knew what the follow through would be or the lack thereof, I remember this was a few years ago, right? But I remember getting to the ground floor, and I started walking. When you're in New York City, you walk a lot. I started walking, and I said to myself, should I go get a new wardrobe so that people take me more seriously. Okay. And at this point, let's say I had raised maybe $1 million, which is a lot, but in the world of venture capital is a drop in the bucket. And some people knew me and some people didn't, right? In that world. So it's like maybe I need to like dress like she dresses and I have to, do something. I don't know. I'll have to learn how to walk in heels, I guess, And I remember that by the time I got to like 2 or 3 blocks, New York City blocks down the road, I was like, what? Nah, you ain't doing that. Girl, girl, please. And what happened next was so indicative of why that decision to not get distracted was important and to just be me. Within 2 weeks, this person faded away, never really followed up, had nothing really to offer, and was kind of leading me on, essentially. Okay. Within 2 weeks, I had received an investment, a six-figure investment from one of the most powerful people in venture capital at all. Like one of the most powerful people to ever be in venture capital. And they had not met me in person. They didn't mention anything about what I was wearing. What they did mention was two things. They mentioned that the reason they were investing was because I had written an article, like written a blog post that they found to be compelling and intriguing, and literally said, it made me think of this in a different way. It was a different kind of blog post. And then the second piece was when they looked at the pitch deck that I sent, they saw some names of people who were also like, Stuart Butterfield, who was the founder of Slack, and Sam Altman at the time, right? They saw these people who I had talked to and who had either invested in me or given me praise. And they quietly reached out to those people because that's how powerful they are. They can just text them. They reached out to those people and they said, she's cool. Did they once talk about my wardrobe? I think not. Did they once talk about my hair? I think not. Did they once talk about my teeth? I think not. My weight? I hope not. They talked about the things that mattered to them. They want to make more money. That's how they got money, is because they want to make more money. Will she help us make more money? We think so, therefore. What if I had spent those 2 weeks worried and fretting about my wardrobe not being up to standard for this young woman who was older than me? And instead of being available to answer questions from this investor, being available to provide the receipts, to be on time, to, continue building my reputation, to be online and in front of them so they can see me interacting with others. Very important note. What if that had meant, oh, well, I got a nice power suit, pantsuit, but I don't have the six-figure investment. Now, of course, anybody can argue maybe you would make more if you had the pantsuit. Maybe I would have, but would I have been happy? Would I have been fulfilled? Would I have wanted to do more of it? Would I have gone the years and years and years afterwards and done so much from that day? I don't know. I don't think so personally. It's it's important for you to decide what you want out of this life and out of your career and your business if you have one. It's important for you to make these conscious decisions that guide you every day because it will come back to you. You will have to deal with those decisions. And I'm happy to deal with this one because it's not an easy road figuring all this stuff out, figuring out how to get your business off the ground, how to launch it, how to scale it once it has some momentum, how to keep it, together when you have more people, more than yourself involved, if you ever want to have more people involved. how to treat your customers and how to keep your customers happy while still remaining true. All of these things are their own struggle in some cases and, a wonderful challenge in other cases. And so why add on this extra thing of, oh, I have to remember what I told that one person I like, I have to remember that I lied and said I like this type of music because this person likes it too. When I'm in rooms with millionaires and even billionaires, which I often am physically, they will come to me a lot of time. They will come over to me because I'm different. I'm me. I was at an event where I received an award and it was like a banquet. And so we each had there were like 10 people to a table, very, very fancy schmancy. And I was by myself because I received the award, but I had decided that day that I was going to go to it. I was like, I'm not going to go to it for some reason. And then I decided I'm going to. So I was by myself among this table. And the table itself, nobody knew me from the table, right? So we were just kind of making a little small talk, whatever. This was in LA. Um, Little by little by little, and then more by more by more, people would come over. I mean, people dressed to kill, look like they were at their own Nigerian wedding, just gorgeous, right? Would come over to me and in their big dresses or in their, five-piece suit. I don't even know if that's a thing. They would come over and I would just sit there and they would come over and just say, thank you so much for what you do. Oh, I have been wanting to meet you, da da da. Or, my friend, da da da. And they would just come over. And these were all people who were getting awards themselves or with people who were on teams that were getting awards. They were change makers. They were either very wealthy or very influential or impactful or a combination. Celebrities, non-celebrities, over and over again. And guess what I was wearing? And I know this is not all about what you're wearing. Believe me, it has a lot to do with internal stuff too, and what you say and what you believe and what you stand up for. But guess what I was wearing? A hoodie and jeans. I think they noticed because you couldn't help but notice in this room full of the biggest prom you've ever seen. But I don't think they cared. They just cared I was there. I'll give you another example. And this is not so much about clothing and clothing taste. It's about feeling a little bit like I think what I wear is pretty simple, and it harkens back to the lack of money I had for the first 35 years of my life. It just kind of it doesn't keep me grounded because I don't want to stay grounded. Don't, dear black woman, don't stay grounded. Get real entitled real fast. Okay, put that in the comments if you heard that. Get real entitled real fast. That's we deserve to be entitled. But anyway, I digress. I was in New Orleans for an Essence Fest dinner. So it was Essence Fest the night before the big launch of Essence Fest. And again, found myself in a room with rich people, very cool people, beautiful people, dressed to the nines. And I mean, it just looked like we were in some sort of like the crown was having a meeting of all the European nations or something. It was just gorgeous. Everybody was cool. Everybody had on expensive things. Everybody had money, or at least the appearance of that. And once again, I sat down by myself, had a little small talk, but most people ignored me. Most people ignored me. Okay, this is going to really help somebody right now. Most people kind of even looked at me a little strange. There was this person to my left. It was a guy. And he was to my left. I believe he was Hispanic, if I remember correctly. And he was from New Jersey. I remember we talked about his how he had a beautiful home in New Jersey. He was there with his family. He had worked in music, and that's how he kind of came up as an executive. And he was just a curious person. He was asking me questions about me. He didn't know me from Adam, but he was asking questions. I guess maybe he saw me. I was by myself too, and he was just being nice. And he asked me things, and we talked, and it was really lovely. And then I went back to kind of looking forward, and nobody was saying anything to me. Then A woman comes in, black woman comes in. Her name is Brittany. And she is very, very, very well known to certain groups. She is like considered somebody that people pay attention to. They care about what she has to think and what she has to say. And she was very bubbly, outgoing. When she came in, and she was a little bit late because she had been speaking somewhere else. She came in and the whole kind of tape, our table, we had like 4 or 5 of these long, 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 long tables, but our table was just like a buzz because she came, oh my God, she came in, it was like if Oprah came in or something. So she comes in, and the first thing she does is she walks right over to me and says, "Oh my God, we haven't met in person." And she introduces herself to me in front of everybody. And she makes a big deal. She goes, "I'm fangirling. Oh my God." She makes a big deal about it. And do you know that that table, everybody started talking to me. I kept it real short. I kept it real short because I'm a little petty like that. I just kept it with my friend who had already been cool. So, but it was just so interesting. And the reason she did all that and she felt that way is because for years she had watched me be my authentic self online. And we had admired each other from afar. And I had watched her what to be what I believe is her authentic self, I would imagine. And seeing her in person was impressive. If you've ever come up to me somewhere and said something nice to me, or if you've ever thought about what you might say if we met each other, run into me on a plane or at an airport or even at one of my events or where I'm speaking, and you felt something, you felt like, oh, this is cool. I'm meeting her. It's not just because of me, it's because of the receipts, the things I've accomplished, the things people I've helped. And it's because you feel like you already know me. When I bump into people from General Hospital out here in LA, because General Hospital is my favorite TV show, when I bump into somebody like that, I'm like, I know you. You were in my living room 5 days a week because I watch this show 5 days a week because it's still on the air. Yes. It feels like I know you. You feel like you know me if you've watched 5, 10, 20 of my videos on YouTube. Now, this is where I want to really hone in on how this is going to help you the most. What you want to do is try your very best to be as authentically you as possible, even if it turns some people off, even if it's not the politically correct thing. Please do not punch down. Please do not harm others in what you say. That's just my personal uh, preference. But if you can be yourself and then put your voice out to the world, like I say in this book, share your voice with the world, meaning post videos, post writings, content. Because if you do that, even if you don't do any of that right now, if you were to do that for like, let's say 6 months starting today, and you were just to put a video out, like 10, 20-minute video out every, 2 or 3 times a week on YouTube. If you were to do that, your life is going to change. Your life is going to change. If you've been posting videos, you're like, I posted, 20 videos and my life didn't change. Is that what I said? I said maybe 50 to 100 videos, I think, if you're doing the math, 50, 75. But doing it and putting that out there and getting more, what do you call it, surface area, because people don't just watch one of your videos. If they like it, if you're helping them, you're teaching them, you're doing it in your own way, they will watch more than one video and they will watch the depth of it is what makes it translate. They will feel like you want them to feel like you feel when you see somebody from TV in person. Right? Is that a light bulb moment? Let me know. Put the word light bulb in the comments if that was a light bulb moment for you. You don't, doesn't mean you have to be, it has to be fancy. You have to be all made up. You have to have this crazy production. It doesn't mean that. It just means like the same way There's somebody or a few people that if you saw them in person, you'd be like, whoa. First of all, this is amazing that I'm in person with them. But second of all, I feel like I already know them. I feel like I already know them. And not only that, you go up to them and you say hi to them, and they treat you the way it seems like they would online or from that TV show. That is you're a fan for life. That is a customer for life. If you can reverse engineer that and put that on you. So when people come up to me and they say, "You're like I spent a day with you, or I spent a few minutes with you, and you're like you are online," that's because I'm being authentic online. That's because I'm not only am I being authentic, but I'm giving you a ton of that authenticity through a medium that is free to upload. And over time, it brings people in, it draws people in who are looking for you. Be yourself so the people looking for you can find you. Type that in the comments if that resonates with you. Be yourself so that the people who are looking for you can find you. Be yourself on YouTube so the people looking for you can find you. The customers who need you, the people who are really in pain, metaphorically, in some cases, like literally, who are in pain, and you have a solution, a healing solution. Let me take you out of this pain. Let me help you get a job. Let me help you make more money. Let me help you learn how to tie your shoe so that you can finally be a person who can tie their shoe because it's been such a painful thing for you these years. Let me help you. And while you're doing that, you're going to put some content out that is about you, but you're not going to necessarily, give your life story every video. You're just going to throw in storytelling, like I've done in this video, haven't I? Throw in storytelling to make a point. Have a couple of things that you repeat so people understand that they can relate to you. And above all else, provide value of some type in every single video. Every video has a purpose and a job. It should lead somewhere. Is it to get more subscribers? Is it to get more people to watch your other videos? Is it to get people to go to your offer? Is it to get people to go to your mailing list and sign up? What is it for? Once you know that, then you reverse engineer what you say in the video itself because you know what you want it to do. Sometimes it's just, I want you to get to know me better. Like this video, I want you to get to know me better. I want you to get to know yourself better. Have this reflection time. Spend a cozy, afternoon with me. Or listen to this while things are going a little tough for you and it kind of soothes you a little bit. Or like lights a fire in you and you're like, whoa, I can really use this in my business. I get it now. I understand content now in a different way because it's not just about like cranking out like these, recycled hooks and everything is supposed to be so perfect. It's actually a place where I get to showcase who I am finally. Because there are certain people who will not dig that, and there are certainly people who do not like me. And there were others far more who will. How cool is that? And then the biggest group of people will just simply not care. And that's cool too. Like they're just simply not going to care. So that's the, 7 billion people or so. And then you're going to have a group of people who hate what you do. They just can't stand you for some reason. I feel that. I have that every day. But then you're going to have this larger group than the haters, smaller than the indifferent, who just adore what you have and have been waiting for you to show up. And now you have.